Not gonna lie, the whole time during this movie I was thinking, I really want to see Edward Cullen try to mess with George Clooney in this movie. Bella, Bella, where are you? I'm over here, jackass. Hello and welcome to my review of From Dusk Till Dawn, starring Harvey Keitel, George Clooney, and Quentin Tarantino. From Dusk Till Dawn centers on Seth and Richard Gecko, played by George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, who are a couple of criminals who've just broken out of jail and have killed a few people, so they decide naturally to go to Mexico to get away from American law enforcement. They kidnap a preacher, played by Harvey Keitel, who is currently doubting his faith due to an accident with his wife where she died. And they take them to Mexico, and they wind up in this bar called the Titty Twister. Yes, that's what it's called. And they find that the inhabitants of the bar are vicious, blood-sucking vampires. And thus starts a lot of... I don't know what I was really expecting from this movie. All I knew is that it had a bunch of people I liked, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, George Clooney involved with it, and that it dealt with vampires in some capacity. And I gotta say, guys, this was a bit of a disappointing experience for me. My main disappointment about From Dusk Till Dawn is simply this. It gets off to way too good of a start. I mean, this thing just hits the ground running with a fantastic intro sequence, and after that you really start to get to know George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino's characters, and these guys are fascinating. George Clooney, man, is growing in my like book by the day. I used to think that George Clooney was a really one-note actor, but after seeing him in all these films, he's really starting to grow on me. Man, what a great character here. Very intimidating, very strong-willed, just a great outlaw-type character. And Quentin Tarantino is just slimy and disgusting as his rapist brother. You just feel uncomfortable in his presence. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, man, would I love to see a movie that was just these two guys interacting, trying to make it to Mexico and trying to escape the law. Unfortunately, it then turns into a silly vampire movie. And don't get me wrong, guys, the film that it turns into is a decent enough B-movie. I mean, you see a fair amount of every bodily fluid that's physically possible pop out of every physical possible place on the human body. It's just, I really was liking the camaraderie of this film, and it was a grounded film about two outlaws, and the fact that it just turns into a we're trapped in a diner, let's try to survive type movie is a little disappointing to me. Because not only do you lose the suspense that you had before, but you lose all of the great dialogue that was written by Quentin Tarantino. You lose all of the interesting characteristics of the characters because now they're just in survival mode. And a couple other stock characters come in that aren't interesting at all, and they're just complete stereotypes that you knew Rodriguez just threw in there because they're the norm for these type of movies. That being said, it is well directed by Robert Rodriguez. He shoots all the action well, he makes sure you get in there for all those creative kills. The whole movie's got this great kind of graphic novel, pop art look to it. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you're going to love looking at this movie. And when he has the chance to direct the actors, he does it well enough to where you really like George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino. And it's and Harvey Keitel. I haven't given Harvey Keitel his due, but he also gives a good performance as the preacher. You're going to like all the characters in the first half, and you're going to like all the action in the second half. It's just a disappointing movie, because you see it, the potential. It's up here, but it can't get there. It's so close! I mean, it's frustrating as I'm watching it. I'm like, it's cool, but could have been more. And that sums up my feelings on From Dusk Till Dawn as a whole. It's cool, but it could have been more. It's a disappointing film because you see all the potential of the first half. You see these great characters that could have possibly starred in a fantastic film, but instead they're starring a subpar vampire movie. So I can really only give the film on principle 2 stars out of 4. But I can understand to a certain extent why someone would enjoy this not apologetic whatsoever B-movie. And that was my review from Dusk Till Dawn. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I hope you subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Movie Kid Mike, making sure your time is worth your money.